Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the latest episode of Cracking the Code. Today, I'm joining Chris Bowen, the founder and CISO of ClearDATA, the leader in healthcare managed cloud and defense. And Chris, as you know, ClearDATA recently commissioned independent research with over 200 healthcare companies, and we gathered a lot of interesting insights from their IT, security, and privacy leaders. And after the research, we decided to title the report "A False Sense of Cybersecurity" because a critical insight we discovered is that a lot of health providers may be overestimating their level of cloud maturity and cybersecurity preparedness. And in many cases, the C-suite executives that are not interfacing with their technology and their defenses as much as their managers and directors on a daily basis expressed more confidence in their defenses, which suggested to us that perhaps there's a mismatch, and the people atop the organization are more confident than the people that work with the security and tools every day. And in your experience working with healthcare companies, how common is this? And how concerned should we be about a potential mismatch in expectations between leadership and between staff?
Yeah, it was funny when we commented on this with Med City News. I had maybe 10 minutes to respond to that inquiry from them, which really was, hey, you know what? It seems like the C-suite may not be understanding what's happening in the war rooms, if you will, where the threat response folks are having a daily battle, a 24/7 battle. And it's not surprising to me that they didn't necessarily fully understand what's going on in their organizations, simply because C-suite has a different set of focus. They're looking more at the horizon in terms of where to move the organization and where to align things to go where the puck is, if you will, before the puck gets there. Unfortunately, the security risk, the security analysts, the defenders on the front lines, if you will, their focus is a little different. It's a lot different because they're seeing the attacks happening all the time. They're having to deal with some of the legacy technology that their organizations still have in place. They're dealing with outdated encryption protocols at times, and we call a lot of that technology debt. And so there's probably still dealing with some of that, not to mention all of the patching that they have to do on a regular basis. And a lot of these activities are not something that the C-suite would naturally be apprised of. Hence, in my opinion, the disconnect between the confidence of the C-suite versus the confidence of those who are applying those patches every day, deploying the zero-day patches once they actually get a patch. So I definitely think there's a disconnect. I don't know that it's a unhealthy disconnect. It's just probably more of the organizational dynamics. But what the lesson is there is that those who are leading the cybersecurity defenses, those who are tasked with their daily duty to block the bad guys, to prevent the bad stuff from happening, they really need to work on their metrics. They really need to build metrics that are not only measuring what's happening in the day-to-day, but also build metrics. And I selfishly stole this concept from our new CEO, Rick Freilich. Have the metrics that are aligned to what's coming around the corner. If you can do that, and that's not easy, if you can do that, you can be prepared as a C-suite to understand what's about to happen based on some of the historical things that are happening. So again, it's a mix of organizational dynamics, a mix of top-down, metric-driven type of cadence, and of course the bottoms-up approach with here's what's happening and here's what could happen from that risk perspective.
Absolutely. That makes a lot of sense. And during this research, we also spoke to a lot of mid-size healthcare providers. And for them, cloud adoption is a priority. They understand the need to comply with regulations, to protect patient PHI, avoid costly data breaches, like a lot of the same things that we hear about and read about in the news every day. And they agree that cloud computing supports all these goals. But over 50% of the respondents from our survey said that cybersecurity is their biggest adoption or biggest obstacle to uh, adopting cloud technology. And this challenge becomes even greater for smaller providers that are, businesses under $500 million. What can providers do to take the leap and commit to cloud adoption without necessarily sacrificing their cybersecurity along the way?
Yeah, just a couple of notes about the cybersecurity workforce that's out there. It was just probably a couple of years ago there was a shortage of cybersecurity talent, upwards of 3 million jobs that couldn't be filled because of the talent gap. That's narrowed just a bit over time. I think it's around a million and a half at this point, but still, just looking at those numbers, it's difficult for big and hefty organizations to get top talent that knows both cybersecurity as well as cloud. It's really difficult for them. For those that are maybe strapped a little bit more on the budget side, which ironically, the second largest the barrier to adoption is budget. Um, if you think about the budget constraints, it's difficult to attract that talent if you don't have enough money to pay the talent that needs to be there. So it's not surprising at all. One of the recommendations that I give to our customers and to others in the industry is find good partners, find those who can be the continuity among the shifting talent trends, if you will. If you have cloud talent and cybersecurity talent that comes in and they're suddenly poached by, one of the big cloud players, at least a partner would have some continuity for the organization in managing that cloud workload, as well as managing the defenses that have to be in place to protect patient data.
Right, right. And moving on to the next insight from the research, the third one we gathered is that larger provider organizations and those with advanced cloud maturity, they primarily outsource security and compliance solutions. We found that about 80% either fully outsource cloud management of security and compliance, or they have a combination of outsourcing and in-house management. So in a sense, that strikes me as we're looking at a chicken or the egg scenario. Do you think that outsourcing security and compliance services to a trusted third party comes after growing and building advanced cloud infrastructure? Or does partnering with a trusted third party enable healthcare organizations to grow while remaining secure and compliant?
It's an interesting insight, and actually, it sort of surprised me a bit. We've got very large customers that have come to us at the very beginning of their cloud journey and said, "Hey, build us a cloud center of excellence, build us a cyber defense center of excellence around cloud technologies." And they were large organizations. What I've observed probably over the past year is there are many organizations who have tried to do this on their own and realized that they may have the gap in skill sets that need to do it effectively. Or alternatively, they may just be realizing that if they were to use those resources they have internally on innovation, on engaging with their patients or their members, for example, if they're a payer, if they're using their resources to innovate rather than doing the blocking and tackling that a partner can do, why wouldn't they do that? And in fact, that's what we're seeing happening all over the industry. It's less of that. We don't want to necessarily do it ourselves. It's more of the we need the help to do it, but we also need to focus on our mission as the organization, whatever that mission is. And I'll tell you what, the mission is usually not let's go open up a SOC in our organization and fund the heck out of it so that's all we have our money to do. So partners can certainly leverage these kinds of approaches much more efficiently than reinventing the wheel in every separate organization.
Absolutely, absolutely. And The fourth final insight that we took away from the research was 71% of healthcare providers have proactively increased their cybersecurity budgets in the last year. So they're doing the right thing. They're seeking to protect patient outcomes and remain compliant with evolving regulations. So it's great to see providers prioritizing cybersecurity, and in a sense, like putting their money where their mouth is. Is increasing budget a silver bullet for cybersecurity, or do we need to see healthcare providers work smarter and strategically while growing their budgets? Meaning, it's not just something you can solve by constantly funding with more money.
What's funny is those who try to solve every problem with more bodies or more funding, just that's the default approach. Typically, they fall behind because they aren't necessarily innovating the way that they should be. But we try to leverage automation in a way that reduces the need for humans where it makes sense. Now, healthcare is a special industry, so we're always going to have humans be part of that mix from a managed service perspective and from a managed defense perspective. But I really do think that having the right mix of technologies, the right mix of partnerships, right mix of internal governance is really going to be the secret to success in the cloud journey. And it's not easy. These folks in the healthcare sector, their margins are being driven and narrowed by incentives or payers. They're having a hard time keeping up, and so that's why it kind of goes back to that budget as well. They just don't have the budget to do everything that the big players really have the ability to do. Hence the need for a partner who knows what they're doing.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, I think we've covered the four main takeaways from the research, and we'll link to that at the end of this presentation, as well as some data throughout, so that the audience and the listeners can see. But really appreciate your time, and thank you so much for everyone for tuning in to the latest episode of Cracking the Code.
Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you.